been burned, I've been broken, still I rise, yeah, the story's been spoken. Every scar just shows what I came through. I'm stronger now, and I shine brand new. The climb was steep, but I held on tight. Step by step, I found my light. Shots fired, but I keep moving, turn the pace, steady grooving. From the ashes, I'm reaching high, altitude living, I'm touching the sky. Shots fired, but I keep moving, turn the pace, steady grooving. From the ashes, I'm reaching high, altitude living, I'm touching the sky. Not my trauma, not my.
Welcome back to The Rise from Ashes to Altitude, a living, breathing book tour based on my award-winning book, Shots Fired, a heroine's memoir. I'm your host, Tracy Lance, and through intimate conversations, behind-the-scenes storytelling, and powerful guest voices, we explore what it really means to rise from trauma, reclaim resilience, and turn wounds into wisdom. Each episode is a tour stop into a different part of the journey, taking us somewhere new geographically, emotionally, and spiritually, from fire and bullets to forgiveness and elevation. Our mission is to create a space where vulnerability is honored, healing is possible, and every listener is reminded your story carries strength, your voice carries truth, and your scars are no longer wounds. They're beauty marks of survival that make you bulletproof. Today's tour stop brings us to Paris, France. Not the Paris of postcards and spectacle, but the Paris of intention. The Paris of long walks, quiet conversations, and love that doesn't rush. A city that believes love is something you tend to, not perform. Something you choose again and again. This episode is the final stop of the season, and it's intentional because before love becomes romance, it's truth. Before peace becomes comfort, it is earned. And before home becomes a place, it is a person. Today's conversation is not about a title or a profession. It's about a man, a journey, and the kind of love that feels like arrival. I'm sitting with a man the world knows as an esteemed corporate attorney. But that's not who I'm here with. I'm here with a little black boy from the south side of Chicago who rose from ashes to altitude. A man who walked onto a college campus without being enrolled and somehow kept going. A mentor, a coach, a board member, a husband who knows how to love with patience and strength. A father who prayed legacy into existence. A grandfather and quiet leader. Please help me welcome my husband, Edward Lance, who I affectionately call Lance. Why are you smiling? Why are you smiling?
It's interesting to hear you describe me that way, I guess. But glad to be here.
Glad to have you. So there are moments in life that don't need an audience. They need reverence. Today's episode is one of those moments because you represent everything this podcast stands for: rise, resilience, truth, love, and legacy. So before the titles, before law school, before success, let's start where it all began. So take me back to the south side of Chicago. As a little black boy growing up there, what did you learn about survival, strength, and what it means to be a man?
Wow. There's a lot in there, but I'll just go back to my early memories of what I now would consider rites of passage. I grew up, at one point we lived at 49th and Princeton, and we lived on the second floor. My aunt and her kids, my cousins, first cousins, lived on the first floor, and my cousins were all older than me. So I think I was about 4 or 5, and we would play games outside in the backyard. But because they were older than me, I had to do all the basically hazing stuff. So I remember we played a game where we threw a screwdriver in the air and it landed in the dirt. And if you didn't land the screwdriver in the dirt straight up, you had to take a piece of dirt and eat it. Well, they were perfect at that. And I'm 4 or 5 years old. I wasn't. I just remember eating a lot of dirt when I was a kid. What? I know. It sounds crazy now, but they also protected me. They also taught me how to do things for myself. These were young boys as well, but we were growing up in a hood that was tough.
Yeah.
And some of them, my older cousins, were part of that street, life.
Yeah.
But my younger cousins, the one that, was closest to me in age, we were just running buddies in the backyard for the most part. But I learned a lot there. I mean, you take a lot of that. You don't know you're learning it for later in life, but I took a lot of that with me everywhere along the way after that. So
they beat you up?
I don't remember getting beat up. I mean, I got beat up later by my boys in the neighborhood as I got older, playfully beat up. But, that's the next part of the journey, really. When you talk about growing up in the neighborhood, we used to slap box and body punch and learn how to fight with sticks and pretending they were knives, just like we were training for combat.
Wow.
But that was part of the, again, rite of passage. But that's what I remember most about, sort of taking things from those early lessons in the neighborhood that I grew up in.
Yeah, so at 49th and Princeton, you lived there with your mom?
Oh, yeah.
You have how many siblings?
I have 2 siblings, a sister and a brother, both younger.
And they lived there at 49th and Princeton, and then your aunt and her children lived in the same building.
Yeah, it's crazy. So my mother is the baby of 14 kids. But my grandfather, her father, was married twice.
Okay.
So his first wife, he had 9 kids with her, and he had 5 kids with my grandma, my maternal grandmother, my mother's mother. At some point, one of the 9 siblings of my mother from, my grandfather's first wife was in need of housing.
Okay.
My maternal grandmother had the building, the 2 floors. She lived on the first floor, we lived on the second floor.
She owned the building?
I don't think she owned the building.
Okay.
That would have been amazing back then.
Exactly.
She owned the building. But so when my aunt had a housing issue, my grandmother, which was not her mother, not even considered her stepmother really, let her move into the first floor. My grandmother moved upstairs with us. So it was an amazing show, I think, of family.
Yes.
Even if you're not blood family. So my grandmother was not there, was not, my cousin's grandmother, but they called her grandma.
Yeah.
Things like that. So it was interesting. So that building had 3 families in it. My aunt and her kids, and they had kids. My cousins, my female cousins, each had 2 kids.
Yeah.
And then my mother and my siblings and my grandmother.
It was a playground.
It was. It's so far, in the past that I can't remember all the fun stuff. It's, your memory kind of remembers the trauma.
Yeah.
More than it remembers the fun stuff. So
right.
I don't remember any other playing other than eating dirt.
Yeah.
I don't remember any stories except my mother being stabbed by one of her sisters in that building accidentally.
Yeah.
My aunt chasing her daughter, my cousin, around the house with a cast iron skillet. I remember we played a game where you put the water pail on top of the door and leave it partially open and then tell somebody to come out and the water pail falls on their head. Things like that. So it was a playground in that regard, but it was also, it was a house of trauma.
Yeah.
It was a house of trauma because,
as most black families growing up in Chicago. Where was your dad?
Back then I was 5, so he wasn't in our lives at that point. But he lived nearby. My paternal grandmother lived at 68th and Dante.
Yeah.
And I think at that point he may have lived with her. But at that time he was 21.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
My mother had 3 kids by the time she turned 21. She had 3 kids. So, and he was gone. He had gone off to Korea while I was born. That's why my last name is Lance. And my mom's King. But they married after he came back from Korea.
So was Korea the military?
He was in the Army, yep.
Yeah.
Yep. My mother got pregnant. He, of course, at that time, that period of time, you're supposed to provide. So the only thing he had that he could do was join the service.
Yeah.
So he joined the Army at 17.
Yeah, so you didn't have a relationship with him?
I don't remember a relationship with him. The earliest memory I have of him is at that building. So I was still 5, 6, or 7. And when I was 8, we moved. 7 or 8 we moved, but I remember getting in trouble, and so my mother probably called him over.
Yeah.
We had written the P word on the screen on one of the windows, and she, obviously was offended by that and troubled by that we were so young writing those words. And I remember him coming over there, and it was a classic, your mother told me to come in here and give you the business, but I'm going to tell y'all what this is, and that kind of story. My brother was probably 2.
Yeah.
So it wasn't for him, but for me, probably my cousins in that the same, environment. But that's what I remember earliest from him. Otherwise, it was sporadic, maybe probably saw him a couple of times a year, holidays. And the only time we would see him in the holidays is because my grandmother, his mother, would have us over for Thanksgiving, and then he'd come over there.
Yeah. You didn't have a father in the picture. What kind of dynamic was there in the neighborhood that gave you exposure to men or positive male figures or role modeling?
Nothing. There was none. There was none. On my block, I'm going to go fast forward. 49th and Princeton, we moved to 103rd and Wentworth, and then from there we moved to 81st and Burnham. And 81st and Burnham, I was about 9 when we got there. On that block, I can't think of one. I think the family across the street was the only family that I knew of that had a husband and wife, father and mother.
Yeah.
And they had 2 girls. Otherwise, none of my friend group had fathers at home. None of them. The fathers that were coming by every now and then down the street at one of the houses, he was a drunk.
Yeah.
Police would be there every other week. So I didn't have a male role model necessarily on the block. The dudes in the neighborhood were the role. I mean, they teach you how to, like I said, you learn everything. Yeah. You learn how to smoke, drink. You learn how to hold a knife.
Yeah. Did you do that?
I never smoked. I didn't smoke or drink. I remember smoking marijuana when I was in high school one time, and it was like, nah, that's not something I'm gonna do. So, and my best friend, Mark, is the one who turned me on to that, but only one time, and that was it.
Yeah. So what parts of you had to grow up too fast, in your opinion?
Probably just being a protector.
Yeah.
I didn't have to take a job. My mother had a full-time job with the city. I don't think we ever had money issues. She owned the house that we lived in. At 26, she bought the house. We got evicted later, and that's a whole nother story. But just protect her. We were latchkey kids. Yeah. So, I had a key on a rope around my neck. When I went to school and came home, I had to be home first so that my brother and sister can get in the house. That was as early as 3rd grade. And, my mother remarried. She had her second husband was abusive. Yeah. So I remember being around 12 or 13 having to, protect her from him on many occasions. But that was probably it,
So you were the protector. You're the oldest of the 3. And so you felt like you had to be the protector. But what parts of you did you have to protect?
Physically, my body, because we got into fights.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I didn't, as I think back to then and be real and keeping it 100, there was I didn't think about that. I didn't think like that at all. Yeah. Like I need to protect my own emotions. No.
So
we didn't think that way.
Yeah. When your mom was being abused, were you a witness to that?
Oh yeah. I mean, every episode that occurred, we were there for the most part. I can't think of any times that happened where like I came home and she was, telling the story of how this guy, and he was drunk all the time and would come home. But I can't think of any situation where, if it happened without us being there, I didn't know about it. It happened mostly on Friday or Saturday, drinking, coming back, starting mess. Yeah. But
Yeah. What do you think it was that kept you from going down that same cycle of being abused? And you didn't have those male role models or positive male figures in your life. What do you think kept you from being that type of man?
I can answer that sitting here today. Yeah. Going back though. Yeah. When I think about that situation, I had a grandfather and an uncle. My mother's brother, Uncle Squire. Yeah. And my grandfather were straight up country boys. My grandfather was from Greenville, Mississippi. All of his kids except my mother, all 13, of her sibling, she's the youngest of 14, so all 13 of her siblings were born in Greenville, Mississippi. She's the only one born in Chicago. So they have this code, really, that you hit my sister, we're going to deal with it.
Yeah.
So I got a chance to see, not firsthand, I didn't see them actually physically get retribution against my mother's second husband, but I know they did. I know my uncle for sure. And for the most part, that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at my grandfather, who was a carpenter, who was the carpenter for the neighborhood, really, for the south side of Chicago, right? And would take us on his jobs sometimes on the weekends. He would take us on those jobs. We'd redo somebody's back porch and stairs, and I learned how to do all that, so much so that I majored in carpentry in high school.
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah, so I had some role models in that respect, but that's looking at it today and going back and looking at it. Back then, I don't know that I thought about that. Like I said, my friends, they didn't have fathers at home, and I spent a lot of time at their houses too.
Yeah.
So, but you'd have to really put that together to get to a point where you can say, yeah, I did learn a few things from my uncle, my grandfather.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah. So you go back to, thinking about who impacted you or who influenced your life, and you would think about it from your grandfather, your uncle, but those were the only two. From
the male standpoint, I am who I am today, not because of the male figures in my life. It's because of my aunt, my mother, my grandmothers, both of my grandmothers. My aunt was calling me Attorney Lance before I even went to college.
Really?
Oh, absolutely. Aunt Kay she knew. She willed it into existence.
Yeah.
Right? She knew that I had something I didn't know.
Yeah.
She knew that I had something that set me apart.
Yeah.
I spent my whole sophomore year living at their house. And there's, talking about trauma, there's some stories I'm sure that I can get into about why I lived there, because it was by choice.
Yeah.
But I picked up a lot from her. She was an executive. She was a big-time city executive for the city of Chicago. She ran the Bureau of Waste Management, basically.
Yeah.
They called her the Rat Queen, because it was her bureau that did all the rodent control stuff.
Right.
So I'd go hang out with her in her office, right? So I get exposed to that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I saw that. Values all came from my mother. My mother, without beating it over our heads, my mother taught us work ethic by making sure we had chores every day.
Yeah.
And I mean going all the way back to first, second grade.
Mm-hmm.
House had to be spotless when she came home, and she wasn't freaking out and screaming and all that, but this is your job, and when I get home, your job should be done. That job should be done. So those values, treating women right, she taught me that a long time ago.
Yeah.
You don't, even though my sister and I got into physical fights on a regular basis, I would not let anybody else do anything to my sister, right?
Sisters don't count.
Yeah, sisters didn't count then, they count now, of course. I love her
Yeah.
But I think that's where those values came from. They didn't come from male role models, at least in my family.
Yeah.
I had good, strong male role models in school, in high school, and I picked up a lot from them. But I think I don't know. Somebody would have to break it down and answer it for me, but I just picked up the right signals from the right people at the right time.
Were you a good kid?
Yeah, I probably would be described as a good kid. I never was suspended, not for lack of trying, but she never had to come up to school, except for one time she had to come up to school. The 8th grade boys got into a little spat with some other boys, and we all brought knives to school and hid them outside under a car, and somebody saw us and went to tell the school, these students put all these knives under the car. So we go into class, and all of our knives are sitting on them.
Oh my goodness!
Our 8th grade teacher's desk.
Busted.
And her favorite knife was the one I brought to school. It was a wooden fish, and you take the head off, and the knife was, you put the knife into the fish.
Yeah.
So that was her favorite. I think my grandmother gave it to her and all that, and they wouldn't give it back. And so I got in trouble for that.
Yeah, that's it.
I didn't get in trouble for things. I didn't, again, not for lack of trying.
Yeah. So what did Aunt Kay see in you where she called you an attorney, or she called that into existence?
it was probably curiosity. Today, I'm a big fan of the saying that East Coast pastor said during COVID that you put these three elements together and you can't avoid being in unity with others: curiosity, humility, and empathy. The curiosity I've always had.
Yeah.
You know, reading was my favorite pastime, not running the streets.
Yeah.
And writing, you know, I did a lot of that. I listened to the NPR radio station at in high school.
Yeah, and still do.
And still do.
Yeah.
And I watched PBS, WTTW, Channel 11 Chicago, right?
So
and
you were a nerd?
I could probably sum up my life by saying this. I've done just enough of a lot of things to not really be considered any one thing. I was a nerd because I read a lot and I was smart and I spoke well. We got teased because we spoke like white people, is what our friends would say. But I also got in trouble. Like I said, dabbled a little bit in marijuana. I cut school a lot. I learned to perfect my mother's signature and my ROTC instructor signature. So anytime I needed a pass to get out of class, I just faked it. And so I did a lot of things like that. But that was a normal thing. We stole from the Dolly Madison truck, that was unload and load. And back then, they weren't as careful. So, the guy would take the stuff out of the truck that he's taking into the store, leave the truck open. Yeah. That's his fault, right? Yeah. So we would steal from I did all of that. So good kid, I think I was a good kid because I never did anything that would be. I found a handgun once, and I didn't keep it. Yeah. Right? I mean, I could have kept it, cleaned it up.
You just turned it in.
I didn't turn it in. You don't do stuff like that. You don't go to the police station with a handgun. So, nah.
And you knew that back then?
I knew that back then. I threw it in the sewer. I threw it down in the sewer. So I had this mix of good and just a little bit, enough of bad, right? Yeah. I played football, so I wasn't a nerd that was a, bookworm that you could, nobody teased me. I was 6 feet tall, 210 pounds in high school. So anyway, I don't think good kid. Yeah, I was a good kid. Yeah. I was a good kid.
You played football in high school?
I did. The football and ROTC really changed my trajectory from just being a bookworm to being a leader, right? Being somebody who wanted to achieve more than just being a carpentry major. I would have followed in my grandfather's footsteps had I not started to be introduced to other things. And high school, I didn't play football until my senior year. That too was a story about development. I didn't play in my first 3 years, but I tried out for the team in my junior year, and I tried out to play on defense because I wanted to hit people. I didn't want people hitting me. So I made the team as a tight end, which is offense, and I said thanks, but no thanks, like I should be turning it down. So I didn't play in my junior year, but I came back in my senior year, and I said I want to play defense, and I tried out again, and I beat out a guy who had been playing varsity since his first year.
Wow.
Since his freshman year. And that's how adamant I was. I wanted it so bad to not just play, but I wanted to start because it's my last year. And I acted like that, Yeah. That experience builds up a whole lot of confidence. Yeah. A whole lot of confidence.
Because I've never heard that you could start playing football in your senior year.
Unless you can't, they can't say no. As a coach, as you know, when I started coaching, that's what I tried to teach kids. Yeah. This is yours. All you got to do is take it. Yeah. And the kids who want it, took it. The kids who didn't, just put a jersey on. Yeah. So, and that's life. That's the whole shebang when it comes to life. If you want it, go take it. Yeah. It's yours. Yeah. So that was sort of the early stage of me saying, if I want something, I'm just going to go get it.
But that's good. That's a great attitude to have as a young man growing up in the city of Chicago. You don't typically see that. Did you play football after high school then?
No. So you mentioned going to college campus and not enrolled, but then staying. I went to SIU on a Saturday because the football coach or the athletic department was recruiting Chicago public school students to come down to take the ACT for the following year. Okay. And my coach in high school said, you should go, right? And I was like, I'm not going to college, not right now, so why would I go? He said, go. So I went down to SIU to take the ACT, got a good enough score, But I went to one football meeting and realized that it wasn't in me to play. I used to say that the reason I didn't do it is because the coach was a religious zealot, right? I mean, we had to go to, this was a public college. We had to go to Bible study and all these other things he was explaining. They were saying to us as sort of a introduction to this, and I didn't come back.
Yeah.
And I don't regret that. At first I did, but now when I look back at later as an adult, I didn't regret that at all. I did what I was supposed to do down there.
Yeah. So that's the part of your story that still amazes me to this day. Let's talk about you graduating high school and then somehow ending up at SIU without being enrolled. The audacity. Tell me about that.
The ACT was on a Saturday. My mother gave me a bag, not a big gym bag, but the little gym bag, because I was supposed to take the test and be on the next train coming back home.
Right.
So I wasn't even prepared I was prepared for one night, if that, right? But not even that, because the train left that evening. So I was going to take the test and come back home. Like I said, I got a 17 on the ACT, which is crap.
Yeah.
But in that environment, it was good enough for them to say, you could start now. You could start this semester. And the admissions people, took me through the process. And but I didn't have anywhere to stay. So I spent Saturday night in the train station, slept on the bench. The next day, my cousin, who I talked about before, being close to me in age and lived with us, he was a sophomore, or he was going to be a sophomore at SIU. And he called we called him, my mother called him, or I called him, I don't remember which, but he called down, and one of his friends let me sleep on her couch on Sunday night. On Monday, they did some things, and miraculously, my cousin, who was coming back later in that week, upperclassman, came back like on Wednesday or Thursday, freshman started on Monday, his roommate canceled. So I never would have gotten in the dorms, for sure, right? I mean, the way that works, you have to do that months in advance. His roommate bailed, so he worked some things with the residency folks, and I got to be his roommate. And that's what happened. I mean, I was enrolled and taking classes, or orientation at least that Monday. Yeah. And I never left after that. I didn't leave till I graduated in 6 years later.
Wow.
And I didn't graduate from high school.
I'm not going to college now. You had no intentions on going to college.
No, I didn't even graduate high school on time. Again, you wouldn't believe that now, but my class graduated in May. I was held over for the summer because antics, doing stuff I wasn't supposed to do, and failed English. Yeah. So I had to take English in the summer. Yeah. So I was off track already. There was no way that I thought I was going to do all of that, get the high school diploma, and then go to college, weeks later. Yeah. So fate just intervened.
Yeah. You got into college the same way you got on that football team.
Absolutely.
What?
Everything. I mean, everything. Like I said, my life is all about doing just enough to get to the next level. Again, it's purposeful, it's intentional, it's not luck. Right. But it's a non-traditional path for sure on just about everything I've done.
Yeah. So you stayed there for 6 years.
I did. Something that is near and dear to my heart now, as me and the guys work on scholarships for kids today, is funding gap. Putting scholarships together for kids who have gaps in their funding. So we are working to fund that gap. That happened to me. After my sophomore year, the other crazy thing about SIU, my experience is because I had ROTC in high school for 4 years, I was eligible to be in senior ROTC in college. And they gave me a 2-year scholarship. So college didn't cost me anything the first 2 years. But then going into the third year, I was off campus, and now tuition was my responsibility, and I was $400 short. And because I was $400 short, back then I couldn't call my, today I couldn't call my mother and ask for $400. Right. But back then I certainly wasn't going to ask her for $400 because she didn't have it. Yeah. So I had to sit out a semester. I worked and then got back in, and I was a little bit behind, but still.
So you stayed down there and worked? And save the $400 to pay it back so you can continue your education.
Absolutely. The other part about that is that university, because I was a scholarship recipient, the university didn't charge me room and board either. But the last semester there, something happened where I don't know if I was delinquent or the scholarship was delinquent in paying. But anyway, they showed me as having a delinquency when I didn't. So I wasn't even supposed to have that $400 gap. But I did. So, but sitting out was another one of those things that I got a chance to reflect and say, when I get back, I'm not messing around. I'm going to do this the right way and get my grades right. And so it was, it was one of those things that I needed to do, I think. Yeah.
And it's inspired you to reach back and help those who have gaps now so that they won't lose their college education
That's right.
and stop going.
That's right.
So we talked about you not having a real roadmap filled with positive examples of manhood, with the exception of your grandfather. But there's no perfect blueprint, no easy model to follow for you. So I want to ask, how did you learn how to be a good man when you didn't always have that modeled for you?
You don't learn how to be a good man. I mean, it's not a book that you can read. I'll take your depiction of me as a good man, and I'll say, I am who I am because, again, I had a great foundation, not male role models necessarily in my family, but certainly enough male role models in my life outside my family. But more importantly, my mother, my mother, my aunt, my grandmothers. The values are the value. I mean, they are what they are. I treat people the way I want to be treated. Yeah. I didn't have to learn to do that. It was just the way it was, right? So I want to learn more. I'm curious. So as a result, the second part of that formula, curiosity and humility, I'm humble enough to know that I don't know everything. So I listen more than most people probably. Yeah. Because I listen, people want to talk to me. Because people talk to me, I become a confidant and a good friend. So, all those things come as a result of the foundation that's built up. Yeah. Empathy is the third part of that. And again, until this pastor said it, I didn't label these traits in me, but I looked at it, I was like, I think those are traits that I exhibit. And that's what makes everybody a good person. Yeah. Humility particularly, you can have all of the accomplishments in the world, but if that's all you talk about, nobody wants to be around you. Yeah. Right? So that humility, for me anyway, I've accomplished a lot. Yeah. But I don't need to talk about it. Yeah. No, I don't. I know you give me a lot of grief about not talking about it, but there are times when I probably should talk a little bit more about the things that I've done, but that's not who I am. Yeah, because I go in your office and I see, if you're going through boxes or I'm in a closet or whatever, I see newspaper articles and all of these accolades that your picture is on there or certifications. You have a box full of awards and certifications and newspaper articles, and I'm like, this is amazing. How come I don't know this? How do you do? I mean, so what we going? I should have brought it up here, and we just start. How do you do that? I don't know how to do that. I wouldn't be embarrassed. I would do it if that's what people wanted me to do. I don't have a problem with that. I can talk for 2 hours. I can talk about me for 2 hours. Yeah. But the point is, who wants to hear that? And if they've asked for it, maybe. Because if it's something that I've done that can help, give somebody else some idea what they want to do or fix some problem that they may have because I tackled it, and I'm more than happy to do that. But you can't, it's not authentic and organic if I'm just saying, one time I was in the paper and they were talking about me when I was on the board of trustees, and then I was on the board here. Yeah. Nobody want to hear that. I'm the guy that, people try to avoid and don't invite to parties because all he do is talk about himself. So I hear you though. I mean, I want to, because I think that there's one thing I owe the next generation and the one after that is my stories. Yeah. It's the reason that I hang around 80-year-old people today. Yeah. Because I want to hear their stories. Yeah. There's nothing more instructive than talking to somebody who's been there and can tell you where the potholes are. So I'd love to do that. Yeah. I'd love to. I say all the time that if I had somebody like me in my life, when I was 20,
Yeah.
I'd be way farther. I wouldn't have
Yep.
sold my house on the lake in Wisconsin. Dumb move.
That's still
Dumb
too soon.
move.
Too soon to talk about that.
But you don't know what you don't know, because we don't have elders
Yeah.
who have experienced what we're experiencing. My mother didn't experience life the way I'm experiencing it. What can she
Right.
tell me?
Yeah.
She can tell me a lot, and that's what I've learned. That I want to talk to her. She'll be 80 this year. Mr. Ford, who I spent a lot of time.
Yeah.
He's 85. I want to hear from them,
Yeah.
and I think then I owe it to, the next generation to sit at, to be available when they want to sit and talk to me. I
Yeah.
can't make them talk to me, but when they do, I'm willing to share all of those little stories in that box.
Before you get into talking about legacy and the octogenarians that influence you, let's talk about at what point you realized you wanted to become an attorney, besides
Okay,
speaking
telling
it
me.
into existence.
So I was at SIU, and I thought I was going to be a police officer. I have an associate's degree from there in law enforcement, and I was 2 years in ROTC and was going to be commissioned second lieutenant, and then the last 2 years of college I was going to be in the Army Reserve
Okay.
as military police. That was my plan. That was my plan all the way through. I got to the end of the associate's program, got my degree, was ready to get commissioned, and the Army said, thanks, but we don't need you if you want to pass. And I was obligated to do it because they paid for my college, but they deferred it. So when they deferred it, I was like, okay, now I'm going to get a bachelor's degree.
Right.
So I went on. That's when I continued on to get the bachelor's degree. And it was in that point where I was like, I don't really want to be a cop, and I don't have to go to the military now. So let's start thinking about it. And I was getting wrapped up. The fraternity, I had joined the fraternity in my sophomore year.
Yeah.
We were doing all kinds of things, business related stuff, raising money, doing community service. So that I kind of got the bug there to be more in business and not law enforcement.
Yeah.
So my bachelor's degree is really business focused. And somewhere in there, man, that last year I started thinking about law school, but I didn't have the grades. I was a 2.6 or 7 grade point average. I wasn't going to get into any of the good schools. So I graduated. I didn't graduate on time from college either.
Yeah.
Left and then I had to pay my tuition. That was still a balance for that. When I got my degree, then I went on to DePaul to get a graduate degree, and the purpose for that was to boost up my grades.
Yeah.
And so I could be more marketable, desirable for one of the better schools.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. I ended up being, an honors student at DePaul. Didn't finish because I got assigned. I was working at a law firm at the time as a paralegal, got assigned to a case in New York and spent 6 weeks in New York and didn't finish graduate school. But I didn't care about that because I knew I had what I needed. My transcript was strong enough to get me into law school at that point.
Yeah. So you pursued your master's degree just to kind of make up for what you were lacking in your bachelor's degree. So you can go to a better law school and be more marketable in the legal world.
Yep.
So how did you keep your humanity intact in a profession that can harden people?
Yeah. I almost didn't want to go. In fact, I was working at a law firm while I was in grad school.
Yeah.
And the firm that I was working at, I worked at for 9 years before going to law school. I saw every example of why I didn't want to be a lawyer. I mean, it was it was cutthroat.
Yep.
They were money hungry. They were power hungry. Young associates were depressed and crying in the hallways. We used to have partners that were, arguing across, the office at each other, and the associates were like the kids in the middle who just didn't know who to align with, and it was like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And all the lawyers, partners and associates were saying, man, you just don't even go to law. This profession is, don't do it. Right?
Yeah.
Don't do it. And then a handful was saying, you're already doing the work. Go get a degree and get paid for what you're doing. As a paralegal, I was doing lawyer work.
Yeah.
I was writing briefs and things like that on the side, right? Can't practice law without a license.
Yeah.
So I learned a little bit about what not to do.
Yeah.
When I was at that firm, in my 20s and early 30s.
Yeah.
So and I incorporated that today. When I went to Kirkland, I graduated from law school and went to Kirkland and Ellis, which was it was the same situation as making the football team as a senior.
Yeah.
There's no way Kirkland should have hired me, right? They would have looked at me and said, "You're from SIU and Loyola," but I was number 3 in the class in my first year. And for anybody listening to this that is thinking about law school, you gotta blow it out in your first year.
Yeah.
Because that's the only grades they have to look at when they're hiring for the summer associate position after your second year.
Yeah.
So all I had was those grades, and I was number 3. And then we in the second year you do interviews, and I walked up to the table where Kirkland was at a fair, Kirkland Partners were at a fair, and I said, tell me more about the firm. And I talked about some work that I had done. I had written a paper about Kirkland and Ellis, and the lawyers there were like, "Oh yeah, you send us that paper."
Yeah.
Right. And I did that in graduate school at DePaul.
Did you write the paper before you knew you wanted to go work there?
Oh no, I knew.
Okay.
I knew that's where I wanted to end up. It was at the time, and probably still is, the number 1 law firm in the country.
Yeah.
Not just in Chicago, in the country.
Yes.
And to hire my black butt. Would have been, way out of the norm.
Yeah.
But like I said earlier, you want it, you attack it, you find the way to attack it, and you'll get it.
So
and
how did you do that?
At that job fair, it was the Cook County Bar Association job fair.
Yeah.
And the lawyers, the partners that were there, one was black, one was white. And I talked about my story, told my story, and talked about that paper. I got back. Sent them a copy of the paper, and they brought me in for an interview for the summer associate position, which is you do your summer associateship between your second and third year of law school. So they called me in. I did the interview with all the other people on the hiring committee.
Yeah.
Who didn't look like me, but I was also older, right? So I had already spent the better part of my 20s and after college working at the law firm. So when I was interviewing for that Kirkland job, I was already 34 years old, where the others, my peers were 24.
Yeah, and
25.
you had the background and experience from working at a law firm.
Absolutely.
Where did that confidence come from? It seems like all your life, through high school, you just had this air of confidence about you. Where did that come from?
If I was deeply religious, I'd say the good Lord above. I don't know, baby. I am who I am. Yeah. There's no playbook. There's no blueprint. I didn't follow I got here by smoke and mirrors. I say all the time. I got here by smoke. Nobody lets me get away with that. Because nah, man, you were intentional.
Yeah, because do you have imposter syndrome?
No.
You've never had that?
I've had it. I don't have it now. I mean, you have it. I had it in law school.
Yeah.
I'm sitting around these kids who went to Northwestern, University of Chicago, and blah, blah, blah. I'm number 3 in the class. Where's that? I try out for a football team at one of the best high schools for football in the state of Illinois, CVS. And I make the team, and I beat out a guy who was a freshman starter.
Yeah.
I beat him out. He did not start his senior year because of me. That's where it comes from. You do the thing. The thing makes you comfortable and confident, and that's what happens.
Yeah.
So
you do another thing,
and then you do another thing, and that thing, you get a job at Kirkland and Ellis.
Yeah.
I don't have an uncle, or my father wasn't on the board with the managing partner.
Right.
No.
You
They
didn't
look
know
at your
somebody
stuff.
who knows somebody. Yes.
No, it was that you do the work. You get the reward, and you don't get a big head about it.
Yeah.
So, that confidence comes from working hard and achieving and not losing sight of why you wanted it. I wanted to work at Kirkland and Ellis for one reason only. I wanted them to train me to be the best lawyer I could be, and I pay off my student debt while I was there, and then I'm out. So I stayed there for 5 years. 1 year, I worked there during my third year of law school, so I always count that year because they paid me like an associate, which is crazy. And then 4 years as a full-time associate.
Yeah.
And then I left. Intentionally said, I don't want to be a partner. I look around, a partner. I'm sitting there meeting with a partner. A couple of us young associates sitting there, we're meeting with a partner, and his phone is on, the line is open while his wife is telling him play-by-play of his kid in a soccer match. And he's sitting there with us, and to me, the stuff we were talking about wasn't even important.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
He made probably made $2.5 million a year.
Right.
But that didn't motivate me.
Yeah.
I wanted to pay off my loans, and I've always pursued something that was important to me, but not for the reasons everybody else might think. Like money has never been the number one reason. But imposter syndrome was real in law school. It was probably a little bit of that my first year at Kirkland, because I didn't belong. In my mind, I did Yale, Harvard, Stanford, and SIU and Loyola. But I was out lawyering, most of the guys and people in my peer group there. Yeah. So that's where that comes from.
Wow. Fatherhood and legacy. You kind of touched on legacy earlier. Fatherhood came to you by stepfatherhood first. So talk about that experience as a stepfather, then becoming a father by blood.
That was, I think fatherhood for me started, frankly, when I became a godfather.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Before I even got married the first
godfather.
time.
Yeah.
And I'm godfather to two young people, Kira, as you know, and Chris. But Chris's father passed. Yeah. And it meant I had to be the godfather in more than just title. Yeah. So I had to, spend time and, do things with him. I remember we were at the airport, and it was after 9/11, and we were in a long line, and he wanted to go around and go the line that the flight attendants were going through. And he went under the rope, and he was about 12. I don't know how old he was. I think he was around 12 or 13. And I said, "You can't do that, man. What are you doing?" He's like, "It's a shorter line. Let's go." I said, "No, come back over here." And I said, "Man, when we're together and I tell you what to do, you got to do it. There's no doubt about that." And he looked at me more like, at that point, he was looking at me more like uncle. Godfather, uncle, right? Yeah. Not father. And I had to check him for real. And it was weird to me, right? And it could have ruined our trip, but he's a sharp young man. He understood. But that was an eye opener. It was like, oh, this is real. Right. I gotta do something. I can't let him think that this is allowed. So then that was it. Kira's dad was there. Kira's dad eventually got sick and passed away as well. She was an young adult at the time. So fatherhood was there early for me. But then Lauren came along, my first wife's daughter. She was about 5 when we married. And we weren't married for long, only a couple of years. But Lauren and I have stayed very close, at least early on very close. Yeah. And, she's in California now, so it's a little harder for me to be as close to her as I would have been otherwise. But, yeah, I took that role very, very seriously. Yeah, yeah. And very seriously.
And then when you met me, I came along with 3 teenagers. Yep. A lot of men would have walked away. And you didn't.
A lot of males. Why? A lot of males would have walked away.
A lot of males, not men.
A real man wouldn't have walked away from you.
Why didn't you?
Even if he was being pushed away, he would have fought that and stayed. Anyway, what?
Why didn't you walk away?
We had our connection. We had a relationship that was professional before we had a relationship that was romantic and intimate. So I got to know who you were. Yeah. And that was it for me. That was it. It didn't matter what else there was. I may have walked away if I saw dysfunction. Yeah. Right?
You didn't see dysfunction?
No. No, I didn't see dysfunction. I tell the story about you yelling the first time I came over for dinner, but that was normal. Yeah. That's not dysfunction. I'm not going to go into our conversation after that, but no, there was not enough to say this isn't for me. And I had a friend who told me, a female friend who was married, who said, and I had dated somebody who had kids, and she said, "You deserve a fresh start. You deserve a woman with no kids that's, got a professional track that you're on, same professional track that you're on." Yeah. And I almost bought into that. I mean, that was in my early, late 20s. But I almost bought into that. But that's not how love forms. Yeah. Anybody that's that intentional, that's searching for, checking boxes and looking for that, that's not how it forms. Yeah. You don't get to really dictate that. If it hits you, it hits you, and that's what happened. I think we hit it off as, professionals first, and that was enough to at least get both of us interested in the next round, whatever that would be. And so that's why I didn't. I mean, there's nothing to run from. I mean, I would have certainly made that decision over and over again.
Yeah. When you finally decided, I'm in this, 3 kids in tow and all, what was that dynamic like for you as a stepdad? I mean, to 3, not just the one Lauren that you had. Then now it's 3 stepchildren that you have to contend with. What was that dynamic like for you?
I wanted that dynamic.
Did you?
I was probably when I was a paralegal at the law firm, I was the only guy that wasn't a lawyer. All the other staff were women. And so we call it lunch with Ed. I'd have lunch, we'd go in the cafeteria, and we would laugh until our sides hurt. But one of the things I repeatedly said to them was, what kind of woman you looking for? I want a woman that wants 10 kids, right? And they were like, you crazy. There's nobody going to have 10 kids for you. Well, then she won't be with me because she ain't going to have 10 kids. So I already had this mindset that I wanted a big family.
Yeah.
Like I said, it wasn't intimidating for me to date a woman with kids, for me to date a woman with multiple kids, for me to date a woman with multiple teenage kids, right? But so that part was not, that was part of the plan, actually. I don't refer to my kids as stepchildren unless I need to explain something to somebody about, why I have 5 kids. But otherwise, they're all my kids. I try to treat them. I don't know what it's like. I know now, having Michaela for 16 years, but then I didn't know how to treat a stepchild versus a biological child. They were all my kids. I didn't treat them any differently. And I think Chris will tell you that as a godchild, I was in his tail like he was my child. Yeah, right?
I think Kira would say the same thing.
Absolutely.
So as a stepfather, did you ever have a desire to have your own children?
No. I was satisfied with whatever happened. I didn't rush to a relationship or rush to marriage. I'm sure that if I had a kid out of wedlock, I would have been happy and satisfied with that. But the clock wasn't ticking for me, right? As you can tell, because I was 45. I turned 46 3 days after my first and only biological child was born. So it wasn't ticking for me. And rightfully, men don't have that problem. Right?
Exactly.
So it's not like I can boast about the fact that the clock wasn't ticking for me. Right. But so I didn't. No, I would have been content. Yeah. I had strong enough a relationship with, at the time, Kira, Chris, and Lauren, that I was doing the things that I needed to do and coaching. Yeah. And I had, my kids that I coached, and I was trying to be a father figure to a few of the, young black boys on the team and be there for them. It satisfied enough of that for me.
Yeah. So it's very different having godchildren, stepchildren, that you weren't there for in the beginning, or they had parents who they lived with. So what was it like for you when we decided we were going to have a child through in vitro?
Yeah. Honestly, I wasn't sure it was going to work, right? Because of the anatomy of the...
What's wrong, Marcy? What's going on?
What you crying about?
Marcy, what?
Now you're going to be part of the interview.
Sorry, I just love you.
I love you too. I love you too, baby.
Mars.
We can hear you. You got to get it together so we can be back and filming. I'm going to cry next.
You going to be okay. You need a minute.
Our producer is one of our children. So I'm glad she's interrupting this production and not us.
Me.
Oh, yeah, because this is rise from the ashes. So I'm gonna say, because your tubes have been tied, and I didn't.
And I was not planning to have another child. Period. Yeah, and I thought I was content, but the thing is, I had to look at your life fully and say there's no way that you your legacy shouldn't be extended.
That's what you said. That still didn't sway me.
Yeah,
Nothing
it didn't sway
swayed me.
you. But I think it's different when you have your own blood child.
Right.
And because you were so amazing and such an incredible human being, first of all, I couldn't come to terms with us being so serious and getting married, and then in my head thinking, this man should have been a father. Going back to what your coworker said to you, I probably would have to agree. You should find somebody you could start a clean slate with and start and have your own children, and maybe that was what was on my mind, but I definitely wanted you to be my baby daddy.
Yeah, yeah.
Period.
Yeah. And I felt that, right? I mean, I knew that. I'm not saying we did it just because you wanted to do it, but I'm saying that was convincing.
Yeah.
Right. And I when it comes to legacy and humility don't go very well.
Right.
Right. So as I'm talking to the university now about naming rights to things at the university with a bequeath and a sizable donation,
Yeah.
they're pushing legacy to me.
Yeah.
And that doesn't jive with humility. My name doesn't need to be on anything at SIU.
Yeah.
I didn't need a biological child to feel like I was going to have a legacy. I have a legacy because Mark had kids and I was part of their life.
Yeah.
And I had godchildren and I had, at stepchildren, if you will, at the time, just Lauren, but still, I had kids in my life who I was really close to and impactful. My relationship with them was impactful.
Yeah.
So I knew I had that already. I had football players who were coming back saying, "Coach, man, I'm glad we had you to, kick us in the butt and keep us straight." And they are in college now.
Yeah.
Right. So I never thought. I still don't think about.
Yeah, because legacy is not necessarily the children you have. It's how many lives you touch.
That's it.
It's who you impact, who you influence, who you motivate, inspire, encourage,
That's right.
all of those things.
Blood or no blood.
Yeah, but
it's not. That's right.
Still needed,
I complied.
You did.
I complied.
You did.
Right. I complied, and it was just going to be one because the price tag is.
Or we thought.
Yeah, we could have had three
Exactly.
or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know how many they put aside. But going back a little bit to the legacy thing too. Now, I mean, like I said, the legacy and humility may not jive, but I'm 62 now.
Yeah.
I think about it in terms of what am I not doing to make sure that the next generation and the one after that is set.
Yeah.
And not from a financial standpoint. In fact, much less so financially.
Yeah.
But what am I not teaching?
Yeah.
What am I not insisting that they learn?
Yeah.
Our children and their children.
Yeah.
And that's hard for me.
Yeah.
That part is difficult for me because you cannot impose your ways, your will, your values on anybody.
Yeah.
And I like to tell, the guys in the frat, like I'm more than happy to reach back. But I'm only reaching back for the people that are reaching up.
Yeah.
And that sounds bad, but you can't drag anybody into their future.
Yeah.
I'll reach back for sure, and I do a lot of that. But I'm only grabbing those people who want to be grabbed.
Yeah.
If I'm just snatching people who are in a position or situation that I think they can get out of, but they don't think they can get out of or want to get out of, I'm not reaching for them.
Yeah.
My hand is there for you to grab, and I will take it from there.
You mentioned earlier that you are a great listener, which you are, and people come to you because they want you to listen. And I think that's your opportunity to teach in the process of not even knowing that that teaching is what you're doing. I think a lot of people come to you because you're so financially intelligent.
Financially fortunate.
Okay. And all of those things, and people want to come to you and cling to that and get that knowledge from you. That's one of the great things about you. That's also legacy. But going back to when you first saw Michaela as your biological child, what was that like? What was that moment like for you?
Wow. It was a miracle. It was miraculous. It was one of those things that I didn't like didn't plan, to ever be a biological father until
from day one. From the point of day one.
Yeah. But this one is, right?
Yeah,
this one you say, all right, we're gonna have a baby. And so so in a lot of ways it was it's hard to put into words how you feel when you have I don't know. I can't put it into words. It was so meaningful to watch the process. And it wasn't the first time. I had a fraternity brother who was in the police academy, and I was his wife's coach. So I had to be in the delivery room for the birth of his son. He got there just in time for the crowning and all that. Thank God, because I was like, all right, man, I'm out.
Yeah.
But so it wasn't my first delivery.
Yeah, you were there from the pregnancy.
But but that whole process it's special. It's just it's hard to put a word on it. Really, it really is that. It's a life that I'm now responsible for the progress of that life, right? Staying alive, first of all, on my watch, and then, being able to nurture her and teach her so much. I don't have to wait for her to reach up. She got to grab the hand, right? It was one of those situations where I knew this is it. This is the one that I'm going to make sure she's going to be all right. And I think we've been doing a pretty good job.
Yeah. So what did becoming a father to her awaken in you?
Awaken.
Or how did it change the way you saw the world? Yeah.
How am I different? It settled me, until you and I started, even while we were dating, I was all over the world.
Yeah.
I was all over the world. I had a chance to see everything that I wanted to see in this world. Not everything. I'm still a few things, but this settled me. I was no longer, Cedric's +1 on his international trips.
Yeah.
I was no longer in Atlanta for every special event in the lives of my family down in Atlanta. Mark and Cassie and their kids. I was there for everything. I was there for Robin and Lisa's and Frank's kids.
Yeah.
Soccer games. I could be on a flight Friday. I'll see y'all on Tuesday. There was nobody to say I'll see y'all. It was just me. So having a child, getting married, having now a full family, it settled me. Now it's time to, and it wasn't a hard transition because I was ready for that. It was in me to be a father to many. So it wasn't a big deal, to have now a family. For us at the time, it was the three of us. The two of us and the three kids. But then now we got four.
Yeah.
And that was an easy transition.
Yeah.
But I couldn't do life the way I had been doing it.
Yeah.
I was no longer single, and now I had a baby, and more importantly, I had to be support. Yeah. For you to be able to count on.
Yeah,
so,
but I
that's
think
what it was.
the roles changed when you became a father.
No. They changed. You insisted. I'm sorry, this is the way it went down.
Well, how did I insist?
You insisted that I have to be the primary because you did your job. You raised 3 kids. I have to be the primary. And I was on board with this, but I remember that.
Yes.
I'm the person the school calls.
Yes.
Right? I'm the one who has to take her to and from school. I'm the one that has to, make sure she has whatever she needs in order to, navigate this world.
But I thought when I said that and you agreed, I thought that was just BS. That was just something you were supposed to say, or you thought you were supposed to say. But even now that she's 16, it still holds true. You take her to the doctor. You take her to everywhere where I have to call and ask you, well, what did the doctor say? And you're like, I don't know. They said she was fine.
You didn't say I had to
you went
pay attention to what was going on. Just got to go and take her. Yeah, no, yes. I'm joking. Yeah.
Completely hands-on dad from day one, waking up at night. I was breastfeeding her, but you would still want milk in a bottle to feed her, and you have been nonstop since that day. You have never ever failed your role as a father, a hands-on father, there at every moment. Then sometimes I get a little jealous, like, dang, can I take her to school today? No, I got it. It's
just the job. These guys ain't gonna listen to the podcast because they don't do it. Unfortunately. Kevin Lucas, father of several, active in his kids' lives.
Yeah.
Married to his wife for 20 years now. Tommy Van, married for 30 plus years, active, never been outside of his family's
Right.
home. Eddie Parker, married for 20 plus years, father of 2, never been out of his kids' lives, never been out of their home.
Yes.
Cedric Cade, like me, has been stepdad to 2 young men
Yeah.
in his marriage, never been out of their lives.
Yeah.
Dwayne Dixon, even though he is on his second marriage, he's still active in his son's life.
Yeah.
Lyle is the Superman of all because
Yeah.
Lyle got a divorce and he was the primary for his
Yeah.
kids. Lyle is also the one who has taught me a lot about managing expectations when it comes to your kids. He's sort of, teaching me how to parent adults because
Yeah.
we have 3.
Yeah.
I have 4 adult
Yes.
kids that I have to.
I love what he
parent.
said to you about parenting adult children.
Yes, he said that at some point he had to tell his kids, "I'm no longer your parent. I am your advisor.
Yes.
I'm here to advise you on
Yes.
things. I'm not getting groceries."
Yes.
So if the refrigerator, and they live, 2 of them live with him. If the refrigerator is empty,
Yeah.
that's not my job to fill it anymore.
Right.
I'm the advisor.
I think that's great to look at your role as parenting adult children as their advisor, as their
Sounding board.
yeah.
He also told me when Michaela was first born, she was maybe 1 or 2 years old, and I remember him saying, "Whatever you do, don't place your expectations on your kid.
Yeah.
Make sure that you're going to be comfortable with whoever they become, whoever,
Yes.
in this case, whoever she becomes.
Yep.
And that way, they will be who they are supposed to be, not who
Organically,
you
that's
want them
right.
to be.
Yes.
And when they aren't who you want them to be, you'll love them just the same.
That's
'cause
right.
You didn't expect them to be anything other
That's
than
right.
who they want to be. And that, that's powerful because
is
that's
very
the
powerful.
whole definition of parenting an adult.
Yes.
If you take away the
Parenting, period.
expectations, they'll be fine. And
Yeah.
in parenting, period, right?
Yeah.
Because the same goes with Michaela.
Yeah.
I don't know where she's going to go to college. I don't know if she's going to go to college.
Yeah.
I don't know what gender she's going to identify
Yeah.
or who she's going to love. I don't know any of that.
Exactly.
But it won't matter to me.
Yeah.
In my peer group, I don't know what it looks like to be absent as the father.
That's amazing
Period.
to me. That's so amazing to me. 5 out of 5.
5 out of 5, and only one of those guys had a father at home. I've had those dudes. They're older than me slightly, but they've been fathers they were fathers way longer than me. Jade is the baby of the bunch of
Wow.
them. Jade is the
Yeah.
baby. And she said recently, New Year's Eve, she's like, "I'm kind of jealous because now Michaela is the baby of
Yes.
the group, right? Of all of these nieces and nephews that I have through these guys."
So when you look at her, what do you hope she carries from you? Not just materially, but spiritually.
Spiritually, be a good person. I want her to be a good person. I told her just this morning, as we dealing with this snow traffic, when you're a driver, be considerate.
Yeah.
Try not to be a selfish driver. As we watch somebody block all the traffic that's
Yeah.
trying to go as they go the wrong way,
Yeah.
right? And the golden rule of treat other people the way you want to be treated. I try to always do that.
Yeah.
And I've been blessed in return. Even hearing myself, I'm like, dude, it can't be all that good on it. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
My life is that good all the time. I've been locked up. Like I said, I've stolen. And by locked up, I mean I've been behind bars, closed the gate. It was only for a couple of hours as a teenager, but it was enough, right? Like I said, I've had enough. I told you the title of my book would be Just the Tip.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I've done just a little bit of everything,
Yeah.
right, to take the lesson from it. And I want her to know that too. If she don't learn anything else from me or us, I want her to learn one thing. And that is, you don't have to make the mistake to learn from the damn mistake.
Right.
And
Learn
that
from
is
other
something
people's
you
mistakes.
learn
Yeah.
from other people's. My mother told me that a long time ago. And it was in the context of teenage pregnancy. My grandmother was a teenage mother. My mother was a teenage mother. My sister was a teenage mother. Thank God my 2 nieces aren't. And Michaela hopefully will make it to past 19 and
Yeah.
won't be. I don't know. But if she is, so what? Again, if she's a teenage mother, welcome another grandchild, right? But my mother said, you don't have to learn from those other people's mistakes. She said it in the context of teenage pregnancy. I'll take it beyond that and say, we got evicted, right? You and I will never be evicted,
right,
because as a kid, we got evicted.
Yeah.
I don't need to get evicted to know that it's bad.
Yeah.
Right. I want Michaela to pull all of that, not by me preaching it. It's not for me to sit and lecture these kids over and over again. I want her to see what's going on and I told her today, be that kid, be that young adult that operates out of common sense.
Yeah.
And you'll be fine. Right? You just apply common sense and be good to people, and you'll be fine. That's what I want her to do.
I think that Michaela's a lot like you, thank God. And so I think her personality, I think it'll all come together. She is a great person now, but I just look forward to seeing her continue to thrive. And I love seeing how your personality comes through her and how she inherited a lot of your traits and characteristics. And I love that about her.
It's a good balance.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't, she's 50-50.
Yeah.
She's 50-50 because, she's got a little bit of me and a little bit of you.
Yeah.
And then she's got a lot of her.
Yeah.
Right? That's what it should be.
Let's talk about love, because I don't think people understand this part. Because there are some stories you don't tell until you know you've survived them. And there are some people you don't find until you fought your way through the fire to be ready for them, which I think that's what I did. Because every struggle that I faced, every trauma, every loss, every scar, every version of survival, I now understand it was the road that led me here to you. I didn't just fall in love with you. I fought my way to you. And because my life before you was just a series of battles, as you know, some visible, some silent. And trauma taught me how to survive, but not how to rest. The pain made me strong, but it never made me feel safe. And then you came into my life, and for the first time, I didn't have to armor up. I thought I did, and I did. Oh, I tried to. You wouldn't let me. I didn't have to explain my scars, even after I stripped and showed them to you. I didn't have to wonder about you. I didn't have to keep watch on what you were doing. With you, I could exhale. And I wanted to ask you, what does it mean to you to be a man who creates peace? Because that's what you do for me. You don't just provide. You don't just protect. But you become peace, not just for me, but for your family.
That is my number one job. And I take it extremely seriously. And you've heard me say it, and I'll say it for your audience, that it's cliche. You are my queen. My job is to make life for you as pleasant and peaceful as it can be. You are my queen. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I'm secondary. In our relationship, I'm secondary, always. And if I just apply that means that I don't desire much. So we're not going to fight about things. I lead a simple life, meaning that I don't need to feed any ego for me. Yeah. I'm a simple dude. So I can use all of that other energy to try to give you what you need in your pursuit of the things you want in life. I remember when we were dating and you wanted me to move in. I was living in a hotel and corporate housing had expired. I transferred over to McDonald's. I even had my driver's license changed to the hotel address. And you were like, what the hell? Why don't you just move in? And I wasn't ready to do that. With teenage kids, you have to be serious that this is it.
Yeah. But
I did it. And then I tried to give you money because I'm not going to be that dude living here and I'm not contributing. And you were like, no, you don't need to give me. And I said to you, I'm going to give you this money. And if you don't need it, then go out and buy yourself a $700 pair of shoes because you deserve it. You've earned it. You've earned this time in your life, as they say today, this season, where now let the burdens come down. Let the burden fall off. I'm here to help, right? And raising the kids or paying the bills, You wanted me to be more active in disciplining the boys.
Yeah.
And I said, no. I have to earn their respect, then I'll discipline them. But
Yeah.
if I do that, if I discipline before earning their respect, then I won't have a relationship with them.
Yeah.
And I remember that. I remember coming back from a trip and they had done something while we were away and we sitting in the car in the driveway.
Yeah.
And I was like, before we go in and go off, because you were prone to
Yeah.
give them the volume.
Snapping off.
I
Yeah.
said, I'll handle this. And
You
you remember your reaction?
You said giving them the volume.
The volume. You know the volume. The loud volume.
What was my reaction?
You don't remember. We were sitting in the car and you were in the passenger seat. I said, let me go in and they had people over when they weren't supposed to, blah, 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 blah. And I said, I'll handle it. And you were like, yes, finally. You're not going to remember that. When all of these things happen naturally, then they're more sustainable.
Yeah.
So my role at that point was to take these burdens off of you.
Yeah.
And it's still that way today.
Yeah.
Live a good life, a strong life. I was thinking about this, knowing I was going to talk about, I'm sure, this very subject. I was thinking about, single motherhood and how unfair it is.
Yeah.
How prevalent it is in Black community.
Yeah.
And how many sisters are not living their best life because of the burden that they have. They won't look at it completely that way. The financial burden, the having to be the nurturer, the disciplinarian, the breadwinner, all of those things. I'm going to say burden because the kids aren't the burden.
Right.
It's the life that comes with having to raise kids in that environment that's a burden.
Yeah.
And it was an honor for me to lift that burden, help you at least relieve some of the stress.
Yeah.
From having to do that. I remember saying to you also, man, your kids are good kids. Jordan and JJ aren't running the streets. Marcy was smart, had a job, in high school.
Yeah.
I think we were talking about them. We had to, cut our weekend short because somebody was sick and we had to come all the way home from downtown. And then I was like, that's nothing. She's at home.
Yeah.
Right? When we were growing up, a kid was locked up.
Right.
Or missing, right? And all these other things. You had good kids, still do.
Yeah.
Right? So it was easy to come in and say, how can I help?
Yeah.
Right? And I don't know. I feel like that's just always been my natural approach to early on in our relationship.
Yeah.
And it continues today.
Yeah, and I think it worked because, you don't have JJ and Jordan, Marcy, who hate you.
Exactly.
They have the highest level of respect for you, admiration, all of those things. And I think it's because you didn't force your way or you didn't feel like you gonna respect me just for the sake of respecting you. But you did earn that respect, and I think it's reciprocated.
Well, and as I said, I had men in my life who showed me how not to be. So I wasn't going to be a stepdad that came in barking out orders and threatening people.
Right.
Right. Unless I had that right.
Because that was the normal thing to do.
That's all you think to do is a power based on title.
Yeah.
Based on, size and dominance. No.
Yeah.
I knew enough from having leadership skills from ROTC and football and all these other things that a true leader earns respect, not demands respect.
Right.
So it was much easier for me to do that.
Yeah. I'm going to read a book excerpt that I wrote about you because it's the most honest way I know how to explain what loving you has meant to me. The excerpt reads, Lance masterfully came along and pumped fresh blood and fresh love into me, reviving my dead center. He mended my heart, a heart he had no role in breaking. He filled the hole in my soul that he took no part in emptying. He seamlessly entered our lives and added vibrancy to the once dim and faded colors and enhanced the canvas of our lives. He's not perfect by any means. His size 14 bare feet are big and ugly, but they can never be filled. He snores like an 18-wheeler, but he's irreplaceable. My heart and soul will always be inextricably linked to his. I am blessed to have a lifetime membership to his heart. So when you hear that, what does it feel like to know you became home for me?
Wow. It feels right. It feels like it is exactly what we started out
Yep.
expecting, really. I fell in love with you seamlessly. It wasn't I wasn't struggling to, come to grips with my emotions and all that. No.
Yeah.
It when it hit and it was on from there.
Yeah.
I wasn't coming from a place where I was looking for the right woman, all of that. No. So it wasn't like okay, finally this waft of fresh air in my life. No.
Yeah.
So I can understand how it was for you.
Yeah.
But for me, it was, this is exactly what I want.
Yeah.
And
you never
somebody I
tried to
love.
fix me or
Nope.
change. And which is the one thing that helped me to learn to trust you. You weren't looking for me to be somebody I wasn't. Right. You just accepted me with all my flaws,
Except
my
one.
Yelling. You did
Except
change that.
one.
But everybody got to
Can't be
read the
yelled at.
book to know how
Okay.
you changed that
That's
part.
the only thing I know.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's because I did respect you. I still do. I have the highest level of respect for you. Not just because you're my husband, but because the person, the man that you are. Let's speak to the young men listening, or men, married men in general. I want to ask for you to say to them what it means for you to love and lead. They need to hear it.
They do, and they don't want to hear it. But I truly believe that men have, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, men have screwed this up. We screwed it up. And I don't know today's millennial young men the way I know my peer group.
Yeah.
So I don't want to pass any judgment. I don't know them well enough. I can see the result, that they're not doing anything that much differently than my father, my grandfather, my peers, who are grandfathers today, who don't treat their wives and their women like the queens that they are. I could lecture. I have very strong opinions about this.
Yeah.
But I'll try to tone it down and say this. What I tell young men as they are about to be married, your role is to be the leader in your household. Not because you're the man, but because you have a responsibility to make sure that that household is safe. Not just safe from criminals, safe from all of the debauchery that goes on around you, around her, around your family. That house is supposed to be safe. That starts with you. The finances are your responsibility primarily. Even if you're not the breadwinner, you're supposed to lead. You're supposed to lead, period. Now, today's young people may not see that as a fair statement because it's somewhat male-centric.
Yeah.
But so what? So what? What person doesn't want a co-leader in their life, right? So I'm going to say it from the position of the man because I'm a man. That's my job, is to lead. And that means I got to live a good life, live a strong life, and do the right things. Financially, you know how I am. I might squeeze a nickel for sure, but that's because at the back end of that is a lifestyle that you want.
Yeah.
Right? I do that not for me. I don't have a pair of Air Jordans to my name.
Yeah.
The last pair of shoes I bought were Pumas on sale on Amazon for $36.
Right.
Okay? But we can go to Africa and then you can stay an extra week if you need to.
Yeah.
Because I squeezed a nickel 3 years before that.
Yeah.
Right? So that's our job as the man.
Yeah.
Even if you're not the breadwinner in your household, lead on every aspect of that. Lead as the caregiver for the kids.
Yeah.
Even if that's not your primary job for whatever, you're not breastfeeding. So what? You could still be up in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Right? Lead, and then you will be followed.
Yeah.
But be a good follower when it's time.
Yeah.
Don't. You hear me say something? Don't compete with your wife.
Right.
Don't be petty. 98% of the things that we do in our lives, in our marriage, are what you want to do.
Yeah.
Because I want you to be happy. And a lot of people are like, well, what do you want? Are you sacrificing what you want? Are you suppressing? No. That's what I want. I want her to have what she wants so she can be happy. And thank God, again, I married the right woman because it's not material stuff with you.
Yeah.
Right? But for some guys it is. So don't be petty. Don't fight over money. Those are the kinds of things that if you get all of that foundational stuff right, you will live a peaceful, harmonious life with your spouse.
Yeah.
Period. I can't say I'm always right. I don't know that I'm always. Everybody's situation is different.
Yeah.
But if the man in that relationship took his responsibilities completely seriously, most of the bullshit that goes on in relationships wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
Now, you might have the wrong woman, and you trying to be the good guy, you got the wrong woman, then, hey, check out.
Yeah.
I'll be the first to tell you, bounce.
Yeah. That sounds like another show that you need
a
to
whole nother show.
Lance, what would people be surprised to learn about you?
Surprised to learn about me. That I don't know. Maybe you wouldn't be surprised, but that when I'm home alone in my office, I got the music blaring. I'm dancing like I know what I'm doing. I'm dancing like I'm on Soul Train and I'm the baddest mofo on the show.
And what about your hardcore rap?
And I can rap with the best of them.
I
can drop a line. Want me to drop a line? I can drop a line. Don't make me spit something. You want me to spit on you? My grandson once told me, you want me to spit on you?
What's it like
No,
being a
spit
grandpa?
around.
Chief.
It's everything about being a parent except the responsibility of making sure that they don't have cavities. The kids don't take a bath when I'm with them. They eat whatever they want. Charlie could eat ice cream for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yes.
I take it to the candy store.
Yes.
Then I complain that they got cavities.
Yes.
Why did your mama take you to the store? To the dentist, blah, blah, blah. It's free. It's freedom.
Yes.
It's freedom to bring, joy to a little person. But I do it with a little bit of discipline. So they absorb that. They want that.
Yeah.
They're not saying, like Avery famously said, I don't want to go over to Chiefs. He makes me do work and eat vegetables. Yeah. Now he wants to be with me. So it comes back. But being a grandfather is rewarding as all get out. Almost as much as being a parent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Can I talk about you for just a minute?
Sure.
So I didn't want to do the podcast because nobody ever wants to, do it. But when they do it, they want to
keep going,
give it all, and they now all of a sudden they like talking about their circumstances. I've said this to you before, but I'm gonna say it on tape. I'm gonna take a little bit of credit for the book. We back and forth, 3 years or whatever it was ago, about writing a book.
Yeah.
And you should write a book. No, you should write a book. No, you should write. Your story is back and forth. We did that. And I think we both now know that you should have written the book, at least first. Because that's the other thing we said. Well, we can write a book together. No, but you got to write yours first. No, you got to write yours first. I hope that people who have read the book, people who have listened to the podcast, can sit with it and really take from it what you have passed on. Again, your life has been nothing short of a miracle. I can't imagine going through the things you've gone through. To see that Phoenix, I've seen that Phoenix, really, because when I came in your life, you were in college, finishing college.
Yeah.
But that was the flourish, right? That's when you got out of the other relationship. Then went on to get graduate school. Then, get your paralegal, all that stuff going, and you got the 6-figure job. I've seen all of that, and I'm happy that you decided to share it, because that's all I wanted. I wanted young people to hear this story, because again, my mantra is learn from other people's, in this case, trauma.
Yeah.
You don't have to experience the trauma to get the lesson from it.
Right.
And then I'll say, finally, to really geek out on this a little bit, the goal isn't to be resilient. The goal isn't to be resilient. We talk about resilience, but the goal is to be anti-fragile. And there's this whole school of thought about what that means. But it simply means that I've been down in hell.
Yeah.
And I came out. And now I'm back to where I was before I went down in hell.
Right.
Anti-fragile says, I've been down in hell and I learned a few things.
Right.
Now I'm coming out And I'm going way beyond where I was because of what I learned while I was down there.
Right.
And that's what you embody that. You didn't just bounce back after all of the trauma. You took it to a whole nother level. Graduating with honors from Loyola Law School with a master's degree from Loyola Law School where you were competing with the other law students with honors. I didn't even graduate with honors from Loyola Law School. Right? So the hell with what everybody wants to say about what I did. What you've done is nothing short of a miracle. And other people, if they really, 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 really want to improve on their life, can find something in there and say, I'm going to model that.
Yeah.
And to speak to our children, one who's sitting across from us right now, it's okay to model your mama. It's okay to live a little bit like her. We don't need to reinvent the wheel when we become adults.
Yeah.
And I'm teaching that to Michaela. You can live your life, but here, I want a little bit of our life to overlap with yours.
Yeah.
So you can always tap into our experiences that you don't have to suffer the same that we did, and you particularly.
Yeah.
I've never had adversity in my life. I've never had adversity.
Yeah.
When we were evicted, I was in college, right? So I've never had adversity. And you've had every possible type of adversity you can have.
Yeah.
And you've come through it, and you've gone beyond it. And for that, I respect and admire you more than I probably respect and admire any other person. Any person.
Wow.
Any person. And on top of that, I love you dearly.
I love you
thanks
too.
for having me on your podcast.
Thank you so much. Thanks for that. That means so much.
I know.
So you heard it from him. Get the book and read it, because you could take some little nuggets from the book to apply to your life and flourish. Thank you, Lance, for joining me today.
You're welcome, Tracy. We can't say honey and baby on the show?
Yeah, you already said it.
Oh, okay.
Now that y'all see how much and why I love him, we're going to close this final season of The Rise out with this. I've never known a man to love a woman the way Lance loves me. Not possessively, not loudly, not performatively, but faithfully, intentionally, and beautifully. I've lived a life full of battles. I've survived fire. I've walked through violence. I've known hunger, loss, and fear. And I used to think all of that made me strong. But strength isn't what brought me here. Love did. The kind of love that doesn't rush. The kind of love that stands still. The kind of love that says, you're safe now. Real love is chosen. Real love is practiced. Real love is patient, faithful, and rooted in truth. Lance is not just my husband. He's home. My serenity, my safe place in a loud world. He is my peace, and I will choose him in every lifetime God gives me. This podcast is about rising from ashes to altitude. And I now know this truth. The highest elevation I've ever reached is love. Real love. Thank you for listening. Thank you for witnessing. And thank you for believing that truth still matters. Remember, the journey to healing isn't a straight climb, but every step forward matters. So wherever you are on your journey, feel it, face it, trust that something greater is always waiting on the other side. Thank you for giving yourself the gift of exploring what it really means to survive, to heal, and to rise. Let's take this journey, keep traveling, and rise together.
I'm touching the sky. Not my trauma, not my chains. Turn the struggle into gains. Every step I rise again. Watch me fly